So the agenda today, so we're going to talk about how to recognize stress and anxiety, then learn about what to do and what not to do, and then how building resiliency can help your child, can help adolescent, can help the whole situation with anxiety and stress. And again, at the end, we'll have time for Q&A. So first, let's understand stress and anxiety, because those are words that, first of all, we use almost interchangeably in my office, in the world. When we're talking about feelings, those are really just two feelings that have a lot of overlap to them. So a lot of times when I'm talking with people and they're saying I'm stressed, I might use the words anxious. Are you feeling anxious? And I think people get confused. They might tell me, no, I'm not feeling anxious, I'm feeling stressed, or vice versa, right? So let's kind of dive into that a little bit more so we understand what we're talking about. So definition of stress, come out here. So a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances is typically caused by an external identifiable trigger, meaning that you say, and this is probably what you hear the most, I'm stressed at school. School is stressful, okay? Something I always say in my office, well, school is not stressful. School is a physical building, right? So school, if you guys are taking notes or mental notes, this is one take home, okay? Parents, school is not stressful. It is a physical brick and mortar building, right? So what do you have to do? You have to figure out what is stress. What is stressing out your child? Why are they saying that? Okay? School is just a building. There are a lot of different parts to what might be stressful about their day at school, about the function of school. Okay? Anxiety. So anxiety is the mind and body's reaction to stressful, dangerous, or unfamiliar situations. So it's a little nuance there between the definition for stress and the definition for anxiety. So it is the reaction to something stressful, dangerous, or unfamiliar. It's the sense of uneasiness, distress, or dread you feel before a significant event. A certain level of anxiety helps us stay alert and aware. So just like any feeling, we are humans, we all have feelings, we all have usually the range of emotions, and anxiety, just like any other emotion, is necessary, okay? So if we are in a dangerous situation, it helps us escape that dangerous situation or recognize that it is a dangerous situation, okay? So even if I'm feeling anxious, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's bad, right? One more time, we want to kind of step into that and understand it. Okay, you're feeling anxious. Let's not jump into what we do about it. Understand why. Then we can figure out what to do about it. Okay, so how do we know when there's a problem? So I just said that, stress might be normal, anxiety might be normal. How do we know when it is a problem? So I'm going to kind of give you the overview of how I know as a clinician it's a problem, and then also how you might know when it's time to bring somebody in for extra help, okay? Or to go, oh, all right, so maybe this is normal, this is okay. And here's another take home too. Even if there isn't a diagnosis, even if it doesn't seem to fit this, by all means, bring somebody in and have them assessed, okay? You can get feedback just like what I'm sharing or additional feedback on your situation. If you guys are coming in today, you've got questions, you've got thoughts, you've got situations, so chances are good it's more than just a passing feeling that somebody is just using on a normal basis, okay? So first thing is multiple symptoms. So again, we might feel anxious about, let's say, a thunderstorm or the weather, and we've got an event that's coming up and we don't want, the event to be canceled. So we might feel anxious about that. But we might have no other symptoms besides that, a little anxiety, okay? Let me also mention, I say anxious or irritable mood. If you guys are, if you're parents and you have a child or an adolescent, a lot of the times anxiety / stress is not going to show up as what you might think is anxious or nervous. It's going to show up as irritable mood. What does irritable mood look like? Looks like anger, okay? Looks like get away from me. I'm annoyed, leave me alone, I don't want to. And what that is the body and the mind's reaction to you are presenting this problem, like I mentioned, about something dangerous, something unknown, something unwanted, something stressful. And I want to put distance between myself and that thing. And the easiest way to put distance between something is to present anger, right? People don't like to move towards anger, they like to move away from it. Irritation, they like to move away from that, okay? So, anxious or irritable mood, restlessness. So, and I want to say too, there's a lot of things with anxiety that look like something else. So they can often look like ADHD. So when you think restlessness, people think hyperactivity, right? They're always moving, they're always doing things. Oh, they must be ADHD, not necessarily, okay? Again, with anxiety and stress, the body wants to get away from whatever is stressing them out, okay? That's another way to do it, moving. Fatigue, opposite of moving, but I'll get more into what that might look like on the impairments. Poor concentration, difficulty concentrating. If you are stressed about something, if you are anxious and you're thinking about something else, you are not able to focus and concentrate on the task at hand, okay? Muscle tension. That one's hard to see in kids and adolescents, and it's also not always present, but it is, if anybody here is thinking about themselves, it shows up in adults, okay? Where does it show up a lot? Right up here. Ooh, my neck hurts, right? Or my upper back hurts, or my lower back. Tends to be a lot there, or just that kind of overall achy feeling. Difficulty sleeping, and that can be excessive sleep, or it can be, 2 o'clock in the morning and your kid's still up, okay? And then somatic complaints. So you'll see some of the more common somatic complaints over here on impairments. Anxiety can cause actual real physical symptoms, okay? Stomach discomfort, which leads to the other discomfort, right? Or the other activity that comes along with that. But nausea, vomiting, headache, waking up in the morning before school, I don't feel like I can go to school, I have a headache, might be a symptom of anxiety or stress. Then we look at severity of symptoms. So how frequent is this happening? So we look at, is it a daily occurrence? Is it occurring several times a day? Is it during or lasting 4 hours during the day? Is it just like once a month? Is it, it's never really happened before, it's happening right now? We also look at duration too. Gosh, this has been going on for 4 weeks. This has been going on for 3 years, okay? That's important when we are trying to figure out whether this is a problem. Did this just start happening? Doesn't mean that that's not a problem, especially if there's a stressor that we know that's happened. But it's something to take into account too when you're thinking about whether it's a problem. So impairments, failing grades, tardiness, absences, school refusal, I can't go today, I've got a headache, I don't want to go. Conflict with others, including parents. Missing activities or outings, like, you didn't go to baseball today, or you don't want to go to Boy Scouts today. And I already mentioned the nausea, vomiting, headaches, and diarrhea. Any questions on any of that? Yes?
They all kind of go together, right? Not just with our muscle tension, that's it. It's
Oh, I see. So these are not only areas for you guys to think about, but clinically they play into being able to diagnose an actual anxiety disorder or any other disorder. The multiple symptoms, so usually if somebody has a problem with anxiety, there's going to be more than one symptom on that list. So they're going to have the anxious mood and some fatigue or some difficulty sleeping or complaints of headaches or concentration. So they're going to have more than one of those. Okay. Was there? Yes.
If somebody's got autism spectrum disorder, obviously some of the symptoms may be impairments might be similar. How can you separate the two to figure out what's the real stressor cause?
Right. Very difficult, I think, to do when you're a parent. Why? Because you're in it, right? And you see all of it. A clinician from the outside can look at all of those things, and we collect a good history and a current history. So that's providing examples. I come from a behavioral standpoint because I'm a clinical behavior psychologist, so I look quite a bit at what we call antecedents, behavior, and consequences. So what happens before the behavior and what happens afterwards to be able to better understand whether, this is something related to autism, this is something related to anxiety. All that being said, there's often a huge overlap, and it's not always so important to figure out if it's one or the other. At that point, we figure out how to help. Is that a good, full-rounded, complicated answer? Okay. As we go along, too, if you have more, additional questions about that, I'll definitely address those and more at the end, too. And the other ones on this side. Okay. So, and this might help, too, maybe a little bit in your question. So what to look for? So what do you guys look for? So first, changes in routine. That is always a big one, whether we're talking about anxiety, depression, any other mental health issue. You want to look for changes in routine, any routine, whether it's sleep, friends, grades, communication with you. Any change, something that is different from the norm. My kid has always been like this, and then now he's like that, okay? Here's another asterisk, though. So if your child has not changed, but the issue has grown and grown and grown, you're like, I always, noticed this when they were 2 or 3 or whatever, and now it's gotten to be where you think it's a problem, that's also something to look for, too, okay? So for a lot of issues, it's change in routine, but for others, it's just an exacerbation of what's already been present. So again, irritable mood, apathy, I just no longer care about anything. I no longer care what you say, I no longer care about school, I no longer care about my friends, apathy about one area or any area. Restless, edgy. Leaving the classroom, absences and tardies, okay? If you're in communication with the school counselor or the teachers, or you've got, as I do, the wonderful app that says, your child was tardy in first period today. I'm like, if you have that, so that's kind of, put that in your head and go, what is this, right? Maybe this is something to look for. Stressed, tense, somatic complaints, late work, missing assignments, again, the fatigue. And then excessive worry or repeated worries. So even though I said it often shows up as irritable mood, you might have a more communicative child who is sharing with you, I've got worries, and they're vocalizing that. And they're often vocalizing it. It's not just, every so often about, something which you might label normal, right? It's excessive and it's repeated and it just seems to be continually bothering them. Okay? All right, so now we're going to move into what to do and what not to do. All right, number 1, create open communication. So, like I said, if you have a child that is saying that they're stressed, and they're saying that they're stressed about school or friends or whatever it might be, you need more information. You need to understand the why. The way to do that is to create open communication. That means we got to put our phones down. We've got to give some eye contact. We've got to present a space where your child is likely to come to you. Is that going to work the first time? Not necessarily, depending on the kid you have. Is it going to work the second time? No. But this is your job to create that open space and that open communication. It also means that when your child shares something with you, that you maintain that openness. Okay? That it's not, let me jump in and fix immediately. That it's not dismissive. Don't worry about that. That it's not, you know what, I don't have time right now. Tell me later. I know that's a hard one, right? Anybody want to go, Diana, that's not possible. But if you are recognizing signs and symptoms of stress, you think there might be a problem, try to change maybe some of the things that you are doing so that you can create that open space and that open communication. Got to be that kind of parent that a child says, I can come and tell you anything. Okay? And if you don't have the answers, what do you say? You say, thank you for sharing this with me. We'll figure it out. Okay? We'll figure it out together. That's open communication. Listen and learn. So once we create that space, and your child is able to come to you and talk to you, we have to be good listeners, okay? I know I always like to be a fixer, right? But you gotta be a listener first, because half the time that child is coming to you, they don't want the fix, not first. They want you to hear them, okay? And you can always ask, so, what do you want after they're done? What do you want me to do with this? Where should we go with this? Do you want some help? Do you want, should we problem solve? Maybe not use that word, but that sounds so clinical. But learning, so learning about your child, learning about the source of their stress, learning about what supports they have too. That's a big one. So, do you know where to go? Do you know how to handle this? Do you have anybody? I always use school because I don't know if you guys, know that most of the stress is coming from somewhere around there, right? A lot of it. But learning about, even what they're doing, what they're thinking, what they're feeling when they're separate from, okay? Create healthy expectations and goals. So sometimes stress is coming from the expectations that are out there. Sometimes they're absolutely set up by parents. Sometimes they are absolutely not set up by parents. I have parents that say, we never told them they have to get all A's. We never told them that they had to go to a really good college. We didn't say that they had to get into 5 different activities or, I don't know where that's coming from. Okay, so sometimes those expectations are coming either from another external source or they're coming internally from that child, okay? But make sure that you are always creating those health expectations and health goals, okay? We'll talk about, in the next slide, what unhealthy might look like or, what unhealthy goals might be. Explore, and we'll talk about it here too, explore together what is working and what is not. So if the schedule, if the activities, if the school, if the classes are some of what you discover might be the stressors, talk together. Again, explore together. Don't find out. Explore. Explore means we're going to have a back and forth about, well, tell me what's working really good. Is there anything that's working well in this area? Okay. Tell me also now what is not working. The class that you picked, the teachers, the kids inside of the class, the activities that I'm signed up for, the sports that I've always done, that's not working for me anymore. Explore together. This is a back and forth, okay? Be open to input. For a child or adolescent that is truly having an issue with anxiety or stress, it might not be the best thing to say, well, let's just see this through. Let's just finish this semester, this activity, this sport, this season, this whatever. That might not be the best thing to do, okay? I know I come from that mindset of, oh yeah, we started this, let's just try to finish it. It costs money, or it was time, or it's good for you. It's exercise, it's interesting, whatever. It might not be the best thing, okay? So be open to the input that they are giving you. Children and adolescents are the best and most knowledgeable people about themselves, right? They know themselves, they know what's working, they know what's not. They can provide very important input in figuring all of this out. And then build off of your child's strengths and interest areas. So this goes back to create healthy expectations and goals. I know of a child that was involved in violin, and was another activity, like a STEM activity that they were doing. And it was taking time, but they had no interest in it any longer. And they came to therapy because of stress, because they were still in these activities. There was an expectation for them to continue. Why? Because they're good at it, okay? Or because, a year ago, whatever, they identified an interest in that. But it was leading to those impairments I was talking about, stomach aches and headaches and some school refusal and so on. So even though it seemed like a healthy expectation that was put there, it was no longer healthy, okay? And actually, even though it was a child's strength, it was something that they didn't want to do any longer, okay? But if we are at the beginning of kind of setting up, areas of interest or goals, sure, you are asking, this is a back and forth conversation, what do you like to do? What are you interested in? I come from more of a sports background, and so my go-to would always be sports, but I would have to make sure that I am open to all the rest of the activities that are around and go, well, what are your friends doing? What are you interested in? What is out there that you might like to do? Okay, but building on their strengths and their interest areas, not so much ours. Let me also say, for healthy expectations, I see a lot of adolescents and a lot of older adolescents are in high school and are thinking about college. And oh my goodness, this is a source of stress. I hope everybody knows that. Where it's coming from, I think it comes from a multitude of places, but I hear so often about I gotta get into a good school. I don't know what that is. What's a good school? What's a bad school? But, see, that's my question. When somebody says, well, I gotta get in a good school, well, please help me understand what a good school is. And what's a bad school? And what does that mean if I go to a bad school? And who's labeling it bad? Can you go to the internet and search up bad schools, bad colleges? I don't think that's a real page. Maybe it's somebody that spent their time creating a bad school list, but right, there's no, schools are schools. Again, you come out with a degree. I have to have a good career. What does that mean? What's a good career? One that makes money. Most careers make money. What are we talking about? So there are these abstract thoughts that teenagers have that are causing a lot of this stress. And again, they might be coming from, the school, I hear, parents, whoever, okay? But it's from multiple different areas. That to be successful, that's the other word, I have to be successful. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? I'm asking the child, right? Because everybody's got their own idea of what that means. And as we sit with that, we talk about that, we understand the source of their stress or the sources of their stress, okay? So, healthy expectations. These days, not everybody gets to go to an Ivy League school. I think they take like one person every year. It's some ridiculous number, right? But does that mean those are the only people that are going to be successful and happy and so on? No. These are the conversations that you have to have with those teenagers. Raise your hand if you have like a 12 and older child. Raise your hand if your kids are younger than 12. Okay, good. All right, about half and half. All right. And actually, I'm going to pause for a second. Share with me what kind of stressors that you've heard. Let's make it a little interactive. And if you don't raise your hand, I am always going to call on somebody. Go ahead. Right? Is it similar to the things that I was saying? Right? Would you say? Same thing? School. And do they do, just school? Well, I don't know what that means. Oh, please, I want to hear from every one of you when your kid comes home and says school was stressful, tell them school is the brick and mortar building. They might not know what that means, but it's funny. And then go, well, what was stressful? I mean, the bricks stood there and they looked at you, or what happened? Make sure you do that. What other stressors? Homework. What about homework? Homework is either a piece of, it's too much. Yeah, it is. But, that's an easy answer. Yeah, it is. They give you a ridiculous amount of homework. Let's figure that one out. Wait, you had who? Friends. Friends. Oh, very demanding friends. They need all of their time? Wow, okay. That makes sense. That's just one I haven't heard lately as a stressor. That's very interesting. Girls? Yes, of course. There are some things that, are common. Completely different stressors. Oh? Yes. Okay, at all? Yeah. So you saw on the slide where it said new experiences or unknowns. So one of the biggest response in a lot of people is an unknown. I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, or when I go here, or when I step at this party, or when I in person, or when I do activity, or what, the unknown freaks us all out, right? And it might freak some people out more than others. Go ahead. Ooh, okay. That's a hard one too. Yeah, and mostly at school? School, the world, yeah. I say mostly at school because there you are going to school and you have a job to do. You're trying to focus, right? You're trying to learn. You're trying to classes are and remember where your pencils are and whatever. And you've got all of these other things to focus on. And then you've got those things to deal with. And Those are big, huge adult things that no kid should have to deal with, and yet they do have to deal with those. Yeah.
What do you do if, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to-
That's okay.
What do you do when the child wants to do an activity, but at the same time, they are very stressed about it? They want to keep doing it.
Aw.
They want to get good at it. They want to, during the competition, like my daughter is in dance,
Mm-hmm.
and she wants to be the best.
Competitive dance.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And she's just stressed about it. It's impact.
Right, right.
Sometimes she just cries also, she's there and she wants to be the best and she cries just before the
Mm-hmm.
dance.
Didn't have that up there. Crying is a response to anxiety, too, very normal, natural response to anxiety. So the answer is not always to back out of the activity, right? And I'm going to say usually or often, that is not what I would counsel somebody to do at all. Because anxiety is very treatable, okay? We can still be a competitive dancer, still feel a little anxiety, but be able to learn coping strategies to manage that, okay? There's a lot of professional sports athletes and also performers that get huge anxiety when, right, their performance. A lot of people have performance anxiety. One of the things that I teach people about anxiety is that it goes up and up and up and up until the actual event. And then once you're in it, once you're on stage, you're golden, right? Yeah, exactly. So anxiety cannot sustain itself. Is another one of those take-home things too. So as you are around your child and they're dealing with that anxiety, let them know in 5 minutes it's not going to matter, and in 5 hours it's not going to matter. We're already going to be past that. It's going to be over. Okay. Good question. Let me move on. So here we are to avoid pitfalls and what not to do. So do not ignore signs of stress or anxiety. As much as we want to comfort and say, it'll be okay, don't worry about it, let's just move on, let's ignore it. We might even use those words. If you know that it might be a problem, you know that it's been building, please do not ignore those, okay? Anxiety untreated will grow. And sometimes, if it's not growing, it's because somebody is coping and they're not always choosing positive coping strategies, okay? There's lots of ways to deal with depression or anxiety. Some of it good, some of it not so good, okay? Do not ignore it. Do not set expectations out of reach. So we don't ever want to be like, and hopefully nobody in here has ever said that, you got to get all A's. You got to get all A's and B's. Okay. For some people, that's setting those expectations out of reach. I personally believe A's and B's and some C's are pretty good, are fine. Some kids, hey, if it's passing, seriously, we're good. We still have a path to a successful, happy life. We still have a path to a career, okay? Depending on where somebody is at with their mental health and with their world, there's a lot of things that can be, hey, we did really good. We achieved this. We achieved our expectations. They're not out of reach, okay? Please make sure that even your informal expectations or your subtle expectations are something that your child can do. Yes?
So, I guess, how do you figure out who made up the best I don't know.
Right?
It comes from me. I never said, you have to do these things. So, I guess, I don't know. How do I figure out what he thinks he has to be doing that he's not doing?
So, hopefully that can be a conversation. I know it might be challenging. Again, you've got to, what'd you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, and don't say it like that. Say, I see, first of all, here's your invitation, right? I see that this is difficult for you, or that you are stressed, or that you are anxious, or that you don't want to do this, or whatever. Tell me more about that. Okay? Tell me more about that. All right, maybe now's not the time, although when you're doing good, open conversation and you're setting up that space, you're picking a time where, they're not distracted. Maybe they've got some time. Maybe they got a good night's sleep. It's on the weekend, whatever. And you're saying, hey, let's talk, because sometimes that'll make a kid running the other direction. But, yeah, you mentioned the other day, whatever. Or, you don't seem to like football anymore. Tell me more about that. Or school. You seem to be really stressed about getting an A in this class or whatever. Tell me more about that. Tell me where you're feeling that only A's matter, or, you have to get into this school or that school. Where does that come from? Be inquisitive. Be curious. Okay. Does that help? Okay. Do not set rigid or inflexible expectations. And there's a reason I'm like doubling down on that, because I do get my office, I hear, well, mom says I can only get A's, or mom and dad say that I have to go to this school or that school, or mom and dad say I have to finish out this season, or I have to be this kind of athlete, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. And I've talked to them, and they just won't listen. They just won't hear it. They won't change. They don't even want to hear my input. Okay? That's what I would consider rigid and flexible expectations. Now, parents, please hear me. I know that there's two sides to every story, right? But for those of you, if anybody here is like, well, I do have some pretty strict rules, or some pretty rigid rules, or expectations, or goals, they seem to maybe be struggling in those areas, maybe that's something for me to look at. Do not dismiss behavior problems as a child or teen just trying to get attention. If you were trying to get attention in any sort of way, wouldn't you want somebody to go, can I help you with something? You seem to be trying to get my attention. I'm hoping that is an old notion of, oh, well, they're just attention seeking. Well, then shouldn't we be giving them some attention? Well, then aren't they asking for something? Don't they have some needs then? And like I said, I hope that's an old thing, that now we're working out of that, and we listen to kids when they are, acting out, as we say, or misbehaving. They're trying to get our attention. Please give them your attention. I see you are struggling, or I see that you are wicked angry, or whatever it might be. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what you're struggling with. Okay, I'm here for you. I know you don't want to talk right now, but understand that I want to know whatever you got to tell me, whatever it might be. I'm here. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here in the morning. I'll be here, lean into that. Do not put off seeking help. That's the same thing as do not ignore signs. But although maybe you're not ignoring the signs, but you're not seeking help. Hopefully this will help you a little bit to understand when to go, when it might be a problem. Understand, like I said, that anxiety is treatable. Sometimes you can do it on your own, and sometimes you need professional help, okay? Anxiety also in many people, whether it's a child, adolescent, or an adult, will give you the idea that this is just something that you are living with. Like it's just something you have to handle yourself, okay? Nobody can help me. This is just the thought I have. This is just how I feel. I hear that so often, kids and adolescents. To me, that means that in their world, maybe they haven't heard enough about mental health and about how we absolutely can change our thoughts, which help change our feelings, which help change how we react to situations. Okay? To dig real deep into therapy, that's called cognitive behavior therapy. It is the gold standard for treating anxiety, but it's about understanding thoughts and behaviors and feelings. Do not assume that things will just get better on their own or with time. Okay. Questions on any of that? Yes? How do you what?
Advise going about that, identifying someone.
Grab the information in the back. So again, I represent 15 locations, 3 companies. We have clinicians at all of those settings that are master's level and above clinicians that this is what we do. We treat anxiety, we treat depression, we treat all of the above. We assess for what needs to be treated. Maybe it's not anxiety, maybe it's OCD, maybe it's something else. But going to a professional to get assessed. If your kid had a broken leg, you'd know immediately where to go and what to do, right? And you wouldn't, bear with me, you wouldn't stress too much about what hospital or what doctor. Maybe a little bit. Well, is it in my insurance? Okay. And we don't have one. Well, how should I pick? Okay, that you might ask a friend or something like that. But you would take your child to the doctor. We are the place to take your child. And any outpatient therapy clinic is a place to take your child. It can be even first step. Some people might want to go to their pediatrician and say, hey, there's this list of stuff that my kid is doing. What are your thoughts? What should we do? And the pediatrician might direct them and might direct you guys to go to somebody like me, okay? Or it can be your first step. It's actually your second step because you're here today listening to me, so this is kind of your first step too. But an assessment can happen, and maybe it's, this isn't a problem, or here's some things to try, or some other resources. But even if you come for a brief period of time, it will be helpful, okay? If you don't find the right therapist for your kid and for your family on the first try, please don't give up on therapy, okay? There are a lot of therapists with different approaches, most of them really good approaches, okay? But there are a lot, if you think about when you select a friend, right? Not all people are your people, right? You have your friends for a reason and you connect with them. Your child needs to connect with their therapist too. So it might not be the right person for you the very first time. Maybe it is, that'd be cool. But please don't give up on therapy just because it didn't work the first time or it wasn't the right person. Sometimes when people go to therapy, they are not 100% ready. Okay, so maybe I'm a kid and I'm just not ready to open up. Maybe this person is the right one for me, but I'm not ready now. Please don't give up. Okay, maybe wait a while, but with the idea of we're going to go find somebody who, works better, or we're going to wait until you're ready and we're going to try some other things. Okay, good question. And why is it working? Oh, that's why. There we go. Or not. Just a second. Okay, so let's talk about resiliency. So, what is resiliency? What does it mean to be resilient? It's the ability to engage with a challenge, risk, or impediment and come out the other side with some measure of success. That does not mean you are 100% successful, but you come out the other side with some degree of success. It's a psychological principle. It's blending optimism, flexibility, problem solving, and motivation together. So I've already touched on flexibility, but this is flexibility of the mind and the body and the flexibility of the person dealing with anxiety. Optimism, hope, problem solving, motivation. Resilience is not automatic, but it is instead a learned behavior that becomes internalized and applied during stressful times. So it means that resiliency is something that can be learned. There are some people that, because of external and internal and social and community factors, might have a little head start with their resiliency. And just on the other side of that, there's some that might have some factors that have been working against them. But everybody can learn to be more resilient. And when you are more resilient, you are able to deal with stressors more effectively. Okay? All right. So one of the factors in treating or building resiliency is parents. One of the major factors is parents. And using what we call positive parenting. So let me break some of that down for you guys. So positive parenting is a shift in the focus from punishment to learning and correction. Okay? This is a mind shift within yourself to make sure that you are approaching any behavior issue, any negative behavior, any unwanted behavior with the mindset of, I want this child to learn the right behavior and to correct that behavior, not how do I punish them, okay? Children and adolescents and adults don't learn new behavior by just punishment. They don't learn how to correct behavior. They might stop initially that behavior, okay? But they are not learning what to do instead, okay? Teach and model positive coping strategies. So again, when we're building resilience, we're not going to assume that every kid knows how to cope appropriately. Just like they're learning things in school, they've got to learn how to be resilient. They've got to learn how to manage their emotions. Besides teaching it, make sure you're modeling it. There's a big ask, because we're human beings too, as parents, and we have our own challenges with dealing with anxiety and anger and stressors, okay? But even if you are having a challenge dealing with it, if you express it out loud, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just yelled about that. Or I can't believe I'm freaking out about, losing my whatever, oh, I gotta calm myself down. I gotta remember to breathe. It's okay. And so you are modeling those positive coping strategies. Teach problem-solving skills. So we're faced with a problem at school. We're faced with a problem with friends. There are strategies to address any problem. Number one thing is to identify what the problem is, okay? We don't go in and fix it. Have you guys ever noticed that when you ask your child what the problem was, do they ever start with the first step? I mean, that's awesome if they do for you guys, but when I hear stories, and I hear stories in my office, we're always starting from the third step in. Well, wait, okay, he hit you, but that's not where the problem started. What was the problem? What happened? Let's back it up. Well, because I hit him first. Well, okay, let's step back a little bit more, Why'd you hit him? Oh, well, because he knocked over my book. Okay, let's step back. Well, where, Okay, problem solving is figuring out where the whole thing started and where we could have taken a different path so that we didn't even have to go all the way to the end, okay? Ensure that your words include humor, hope, and encouragement. Very big take-home message. As you guys can see, I like to use a lot of humor. I use it in my office, I use it in teaching, okay? Please use it in your parenting too. Super important to instill humor. It is one of the core pieces of being resilient, to be able to find the humor and the lightness in a situation. Hope. Gotta have hope if you're going to build resilience. resiliency. And person, we've got this. We can do this together. I'm in it with you. Let's look at, moving forward, always moving forward. We've got this. We can do this. Yes? Keep wanting to use this. So you notice I say correction. Okay. So correction leads towards learning the right behavior. So it might be, let me use a real simple one, you're not doing your homework. So there's got to be a consequence. A consequence. So that might be, hey, if we don't have our homework done now, then we really can't go to a friend's house, do this fun activity afterwards. We got to get homework done first. And then once it's done, then we can go there. Do you see how that's correction? That's learning a behavior. I don't use the words punished, but it's certainly a consequence that is going to correct the behavior. Go ahead.
So if it's repetitive and it doesn't get corrected, there's nothing more I can do but punish and motivate in a way that I don't want to motivate. Take away your phone.
Go ahead.
Got a lot of therapy with them. So like when I was like looking positive parenting, it's just I remember how I was raised, and it's like just rethinking because like again I'm like this old school and okay we expect them to make their bed because we show them how to make their bed, like showing them and I'm sorry I'll get to what but basically just like it's all about well for the homework like for him recently was natural consequences. So I know what I want to say. I don't want to say like you're bad, you're good. I say you make was it a good choice or was it the wrong choice? You just make choices and there's consequences. And that's what I always talk and then I always like to also say I picked up with, I don't place it on me, like these are not my rules, this is society, so, and that's why, like I say, you don't watch, like, oh, well, my friends, and they always do that, well, my friends watch this movie, and I said, well, we don't watch R-rated because you know what else comes with that, if you hear the bad language, we're going to say at school, so I just use, like, parallels and stuff like that, and then it's, like, natural consequences, so, like, if you turn it around, like, it's almost like earning and rewards. And I think that too, and I'm really trying to work on that.
The rewards.
I always we always have to be earning.
Oh.
Use it in the point where like, our in-home therapist, it's just her point of view. Again, it's their different points of view and how it's that job would do. But like, like as a parent, we clothe them, we feed them, but like buying them video games or taking them to movies or something. These are all like earning potential. Did you do the basics? Did you do your chores? Did you do your homework? Like I'm going to work, so you can just like it's just changing it a little bit, be more a positive twist. Like, okay, well you didn't do your work that you can do now at your age. Or we don't get to go out with our friends, as a natural consequence.
I was going to say, so let me piggyback on that. The natural consequences is absolutely the shift in the parenting. And so just at the start there, it's a mind shift first. So got to start there before we go, well, what do I do instead of take away their phone? I don't even know what the behavior is, right? So we start with what the behavior is, and there is almost always a natural consequence. Okay, so if I didn't do my homework, what was I doing instead? I was on my phone. Well then, okay, you got to learn how to do your homework first, and then you use your phone. And so the removal of the phone at that moment might be so that you can focus better on your schoolwork. Okay, so
takeaways, it's more you get to earn that, you get that time to do what the expectations are.
But yes, natural consequences are part of that shift and can be very helpful. Go ahead. Yes, so we never want to use humor to belittle, diminish, and if it's something you already know, oh, my child doesn't like it when I, instill humor, then it's either something to avoid with your child or to use in a different way, okay? So I already gave you an example. So, school. So your brick and mortar building was like, that's my attempt at humor. So, like you child can now feel comfortable sharing with me what the stress is because I've, lowered my guard. I'm, open to whatever you're saying. I don't know what you're trying to say to me, so I'm going to use this really ridiculous humor situation. No, Mom, it's because of this. Oh, okay. That starts some talking. That's an example of what I'm talking about. I thought there was a question back there. So, positive coping skills. So we're talking about teaching coping skills. This is a whole list of things that we can use, we can teach, and we can use to handle stress and to handle anxiety, okay? Daily affirmations. What does that look like? I always prefer that my clients pick out their own affirmations, but you can lead them to, hey, I use these, or here, let's look on Google and find some affirmations. Your daily affirmation might be, I've got this, I can do this. All things are easy if I come to it with lower anxiety. It can be longer, like I'm not going to be able to remember it, but it's the one about facing the storm and the warrior says, I am the storm, or something like something that uplifts you, something that will fight against the anxiety. Again, I like the I've got this. There's nothing I can't handle. There's nothing I can't walk my way through. So starting your day and also using throughout the day those daily affirmations. What does that also do? It pushes away any of the negative thoughts that your child might have that are those anxious thoughts, okay? It gives them something else in there. Mindfulness, all right. I said, and I'm going to talk louder for the people that I'm losing in the room here. I said that there was going to be some interactive activity. So mindfulness is a great one, especially for anxiety. This is a great one for somebody who's maybe having performance anxiety, okay? Because you can do it really quick, and it's what we call a grounding activity. It in the body that we're here. We're not in that anxious space. We're not in the what if space, okay? But we're here in the moment. So we're going to do 5 senses mindfulness, and it's super easy because you can do it anywhere. So you're going to right now 5 you can see, and I'll something to do internally to your in a call as we go along. So I can see the clock, I can see the squishy down there being rolled on the floor, I can see the carpet, I can see the screen, and I can see the exit sign. Now I'm going to name 4 things that I can feel. Okay, I can feel my shoes, I can feel the heel of my shoes, I can feel, I like this one, the hair on my head. Everybody feel the hair on your head right now without touching it. It's cool, huh? I can feel my hands touching each other. Okay. Do you notice you guys all got really still right then when you were feeling the hair on your head? And were you thinking about anything else other than the hair on your head? Not so much, right? Yeah, it's powerful. If you're needing to remove anxiety and stress from your head, think about the hair on your head. 3 things that I can hear. I can hear somebody running. I can hear the air conditioning. I can hear music. 2 things that I can smell. Now, what does that make you do? Makes you inhale, doesn't it? Okay, which is intentional. We're taking a deep breath. And now, kids and adolescents are great at using their imagination. Adults might be like, I don't smell anything, right? But kids are like, oh, yes, I can smell, and I don't know, what the carpet, or something that reminds them of being calm. I can smell the coolness of the air. I can smell the vanilla in my lotion. And then one thing that I can taste. Again, kids have no problem with this. Adults tend to be like, I got nothing. But you can use your imagination. Again, something that's comforting, something that's calming. I can taste the coffee that I'm going to have tomorrow morning and that I had today. That's comforting to me, okay? 5 senses mindfulness. 5 things you can see, 4 things that you can touch, whether you're physically touching something or not. 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, 1 thing that you can taste, okay? Another activity, so deep breathing techniques. I'm going to show you guys another one that you can use anywhere because it involves your hand. And if you've got your hand with you, then you can do 5-finger breathing, okay? In my office, I do a lot of teaching how to do breathing, making sure that people are breathing from their bellies down here, not from up here where we have shallow breaths. Okay, I have a number of different ways that I teach that. You guys, if you are at home and you have bubbles or you have a pinwheel, those are tools that I use in my office to help with doing belly breaths. If you do a belly breath, then you're going to be able to blow that pinwheel forever and ever and ever. Okay, and you're going to learn how to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through a very tiny hole in your mouth so that all your air doesn't come out at once. So you're taking a very long inhale and you're taking a very long exhale. These are the ways, remember when I said anxiety causes physical symptoms? These are the ways that we combat and cope with those physical symptoms and remove that anxiety, okay? Slowing our breath down. Usually when we're anxious or irritable, our heart rate is going to go faster, right? And our breathing is going to be more shallow. So one of the main things to do is to slow that breathing down, okay? And learn how to do an actual deep intentional breath. All right, so once you know how to do that, but even if you're just out, the 5-finger breathing is a great exercise to do. So we're going to start on the outside of our hand, and we're going to take a breath up the finger up here. We're going to hold it at the top and then breathe out. Hold it at the bottom. Breathe in. Hold it at the top. Breathe out. Hold it at the bottom. Breathe in. Hold it at the top. What are you guys thinking about? You're thinking about traveling your finger up. You're thinking about breathing in and breathing out, right? Keep going. Breathe down, hold it. Breathe in. Hold it at the top. Breathe out. Don't forget your thumb. Breathe in. Hold it at the top and breathe out. So, again, what was your mind doing? It was focusing on traveling up my fingers, breathing in, holding, breathing out. What was your mind not doing? It wasn't focusing on your stress, your anxiety, what you have to do, okay? When we work on removing anxiety and stress or coping with anxiety and stress, we have to, and calming our bodies and our brains down, it has to be bodies and brains. A lot of kids and adolescents will tell me, I was taught how to do deep breathing. It doesn't work. Yeah, it does. How were you taught? What'd you do? Oh, I had to take deep breaths. Deep breaths? How many did you take? How long were you at it? Oh, I did too. I did 3 deep breaths. Okay, were you calmer? No, you didn't do it long enough then. And what were you doing with your mind? Did anybody teach you that you need to calm your mind at the same time that you are slowing your breath down? Because if we're trying to just, I gotta be calm, that's not going to help, okay? Deep breathing absolutely does work, but you gotta do it right. You gotta do all of the steps, okay? Any questions about deep breathing? Any questions about mindfulness? Let me keep going. So deep breathing and muscle relaxation. So there are ways to learn how to recognize tense muscles in your body and how to relax them. I like to do this when I'm driving in Michigan in a thunderstorm. Y'all have some crazy, crazy weather out here. I'm not from the South, even though I like to drop a y'all every once in a while. Have you ever been driving and it's those wicked thunderstorms and the lightning, and I'm ducking or whatever, and then I'm driving like this. I'm going, oh my God. So then I do a body scan, and I'm scanning for the tension. I'm going, oh, there it is, okay, on my fingers, because I've learned what it feels like to have tense muscles, so then I can invite those tense muscles to relax, okay? That's another technique that we can learn to deal with the physical symptoms of stress. Visualization, I won't do that here, but there is another strategy to, again, calm the mind at the same time as calming the body. And simple explanation, it might be thinking about your most relaxing, calming place that you can think of, whether that's a real life place, a place you've been, or an imaginary setting, and being able to take your mind and your body, not your body, but all of your 5 senses into that relaxing scene so that you are inviting your body to fully relax. Self-care, super important. Making sure I do a talk on, includes the 3 areas of wellness, sleep, and eating and activity. Okay, I can't stress how important that is, that we focus on those 3 areas. They come out with issues in mental health, just like I said, like fatigue and lack of interest in activities. It's important as a coping strategy to focus on those 3 areas. Practicing gratitude. Acceptance is about, I understand that this is a stressful situation, maybe a stressful situation that you can't escape from, okay? Like a test or turning in homework, right? You can't always escape it. So I have to accept that my one teacher gives me way too much homework. Okay, and I'm gonna sit in acceptance and not try to avoid it, run from it, continue to get angry about it. I'm gonna sit with acceptance. Once we do that, then we can move forward into problem solving, okay? Frustration tolerance, and then, some of these are all combined together, but again, being able to sit with some frustration. Make sure you guys don't always try to rescue your kids from frustration, boredom, okay? It's okay to learn. Anybody that's over 30 has learned how to sit with frustration and boredom, right? Way before cell phones, way before the easy distractions. When you were riding in a car, there was very little to do, right? You had to sit with boredom, maybe frustration too. We got to help our kids be able to sit with those difficult or challenging emotions too. And extracurricular activities can be one of the ways to help with coping. So, yes, I was going to say right now I have left time for Q&A, so let's move into that. Let me give you my thank you screen. Yes.
So I was just going to ask, as far as, because we were extremely ADHD and got packed into the Instagram, I forget, station wagon, and it was just like, oh my God. Now I have been so against tablets and all that, and I see them in the grocery store. Yeah, just put in the tablet while I'm grocery, and I tried it. I pushed him towards reading. But it bugs me when it's I do have all these. I try to get through all these other things for sensory toys and stuff. We still are masters, and I've been having those ABA clinics that come out in the bubble, out in the community outings, as far as just signing in at the doctor's office. You have to wait. It's you just take for 5 minutes. Besides the timer thing, that are like, oh, we ended up, and build it up, like, additional timer. And just, is there any suggestions you have for that boredom that we're just gonna have to sit in it sometimes? I don't have full surgery. I don't have, your bag of tricks. Because that was like, I got the bag of tricks, but like when we were
Yeah.
sitting into the dentist office, this was about a year and a half ago, when he was like going and jumped on the furniture. It's like, here's your bag. But of course I didn't want to just like have, because then he would just dump it and it would be all, I wanted to just sign in, go sit down, and then take one out at a time, because he was starting to,
Right. So from an anxiety or standpoint, with that, nothing bad is going to happen if we're bored and have nothing to do. Okay? Generally, the stress or anxious reaction from boredom is, oh my God, what do I do? Like, it's not okay that I'm not doing something. Okay? So it is about learning it's okay to have, again, quote unquote, nothing to do. And we are going to practice it. Timer in that instance sounds a little more, but we're going to, we're going, and you can use natural timing, like until I'm done with this activity, or, it can be other signals, natural signals of time. But, we're just gonna practice, being okay, remembering that we're okay with boredom. So it's joining those two things together, so maybe those affirmations too of, I'm okay, this is fine to sit with boredom. It's okay, all right? And, generally what we do with boredom or nothing to do, what do we find? We look around, okay? Maybe we do some internal activities. Yeah.
What do I do? Something you see. Something
Yes, exactly. And, continue to do 5 senses mindfulness.
Right.
Well, we already identified 3 things that we can hear. Let's do 6. Yeah.
That's part of our disability, even for me. I need to be multitasking.
I know. I was going to say,
And then you just get more.
side note with the phones, I love my phone. And yeah, I have those moments now, because those things are terrible, that I don't have my phone. I really want to know what ESPN says, or what the score of my gamers, or how my fantasy league is doing, or whether I should have changed, this quarterback, or, but it's okay. Relax. Figure out, again, the other things to do. Kids don't like to people watch, but adults do. That's a nice thing to do. But identifying, again, 5 senses is the fun thing. Other questions? Other things? Don't be shy. You had the question about autism. Did any of that either stir up additional questions or feel like some information that you can take with you that might help? Ish.
They exacerbate each other. The anxiety and autism goes on to complicate each other.
Right. Generally what I find is a couple solid coping strategies, not a billion of them, because that's overwhelming for most people that are on the autism spectrum. So having 1 or 2 really solid, usually more concrete coping strategies, do this, even tailoring some of the coping strategies that I had to your individual child that's going to work, that is a bit more step. I've found with my autistic clients that seems to work pretty good. But which ones might work for your child, you might have to go through a couple of them and see what works best. But yeah, I know they can trigger each other. That makes sense. Yeah. There's multiple challenges that might be going on. There's maybe some social skills too that exacerbate the anxiety as well. Other questions? There is information about perspectives in the back there. You can take any of that information. There's a number to call call too. So if you call the main number and you want the Rochester number, they will transfer you there. I do have clinicians. I have a new clinician that just started there, so she's got plenty of openings. That's usually a question that people ask, is there a waiting list or are there openings right away? And more than most of my clinicians there would be able to see somebody within the first week. I also have a prescriber that works with the clients, then also works with what we call meds only. The therapist somewhere else, but you need medication help. She works with children and adolescents and adults too. So that's at the Rochester location. Is anybody from some other area besides Rochester? No, pretty much there. Okay. If you have further questions for me or want additional information, you can call that number too and be able to reach me, but my information is right there as well, and my extension and my email too. Yes?
When it comes to medications, especially when you're dealing with a child who has ADHD and they're trying with medication that have some significant severe, to some degree severe reactions and side effects, what other path would you suggest in terms of being able to treat the ADHD to help that individual focus better? In terms of supplements and homeopathic path?
Great question. If somebody is dealing with a moderate or severe level of ADHD, having medication is definitely helpful. Same thing for moderate to severe anxiety. They can learn lots of strategies, but they're not going to be able to implement them if their ability to focus is so low and if their anxiety is so high. That's why therapy and medication together, especially for moderate to severe anything, ADHD, anxiety, is the best treatment. Some people are very sensitive to certain groups of medication. So I would ask the prescriber, are all these medications that they've tried in the same category? Is there a different category? Now we have many different categories of medications for almost every area of mental health, whereas before it was kind of just these and just these. So they might not have explored all of the different categories. So I would ask them that. Again, depending on your child and depending on the level of severity for ADHD and their symptoms, there's no... So that's about impairment. So how much is it impairing their ability to function at home, at school, with their temperament, with their sleep, with all of that? Yeah. And then if you have a prescriber, if you have a therapist, you can ask them, so, what level would you consider my child's ADHD to be at, mild, moderate, or severe? They should be able to communicate that with you. Okay. Homeopathic for moderate to severe, I don't know of one that works as well as our medications do. Yeah. Definitely, though, if they're receiving therapy, that with the medication, again, that is gold standard for a moderate or severe issue. So I would definitely look into adding that to the treatment. Good question. Yes?
I was going to ask, because I know my psychologist has just turned me on to, I had not heard of this app, but there's an app that's kind of like an AI, you can ask and then tell me more about that, or, it expands. So I know it's so easy when you're kind of doing a general presentation, but they brought up a perfect question as far as the exasperating the anxiety and all that, and like, I know you're like, oh, take 5 seconds, but just, if we're not like picking a psychologist's brain right now, what would you specifically look up, or what would you like Google for? Would it be coping mechanisms for anxiety that may be implemented by ASD or ADHD? Kind of break it down like that, or how would you word it as far
If you're looking for additional coping strategies, is that what you're talking about?
Generally, yeah, just so like if they want, you know, like, because it's like obviously we have to tailor it to our kid, and it's more like.
Yeah, if you're looking for general stuff.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's start thinking, what would you accept on doing? You know, I mean, because we can talk about breathing, which it was because it was novice, and now I'm like, he doesn't like that one. You know, we take a break or reading, you know, like we just kind of turn it like.
There are certainly other, lists and ideas out there. I would make sure that you are vetting the websites that you're going to so that it's good clinical information, so that it's by the Psychological Association or something like that. You're going to find a lot of versions of what I just presented to you, but sometimes, there might be a different wording or something that might resonate better with your child too. So, yeah, not a specific place to go to, but sure you can find.
Would you just say it like coping mechanisms for anxiety that may be affected by their.
Maybe coping strategies for ASD, coping strategies for ADHD and ASD. I would put that in there. So, anything else that I can answer for you guys today? I very much appreciate you guys all coming and your attention. You were a wonderful group, and I am very encouraged at even the large room at the number of you that showed up, because it just shows the interest that you guys have in changing things and making sure that your kids are all taken care of. Thank you guys for having me. You guys have a safe drive home. I will still be here if you have any questions.